Welcome to Moose Plays, everyone. I'm the Liquor Moose, and today we will be going over the Toronto Razor Leafs draft analysis for Season 10 of the UPA. That is right, the Universal Pokemon Association is back, and yeah, we're playing in it this season, and I am really excited to be here because, just everything. After being in UPA D League last season, I've made a lot of good pals that are in the UPA server, so it'll be a lot of fun to play against a lot of those guys in this upcoming season, and as well, the competition's insane. This is by far like the hardest league I've this is by far the hardest league I've played in. So I'm really excited to like truly test myself. This season's gonna be it's gonna be fucking crazy. But yeah, so in case you missed it, I did upload my UPA D League run last season. Spoilers, I ended up winning the title last season, which earned me a promotion spot to the main league, which is why I'm here with this amazing competition. And yeah, I felt it would be basically criminal to not upload this league this season, because I basically kind of see it as just like a continuation of UPA D League to see how far I can raise up in the ranks of UPA. And as well, I just have a lot of fun playing in UPA. So I'm really excited to not only play but also share some great battles and hopefully some entertaining content for all of you. So anyways, that's enough rambling. Let's talk about the UPA itself as a league, starting with the divisions and the competition that I'm going to be going up against. So I'll put it on screen so you guys can see. But yeah, so those are the 16 coaches that are going to be competing in this season of the UPA, all divided up by divisions. And I mean, my division alone is already pretty hard, but I mean, I do have my good pal Ben in the division. Bronson's also a good pal. Jacko's new to the UPA, but I mean, everyone knows that Jacko is an insane battler. And then of course you have all like the UPA staples like Ice, Drew, Dork, Immense, and Stibe, and even Brendan and Jack. And then obviously we have some also Brett's a UPA staple, I think now. Jose came out of retirement. Carson also promoted with me, so I can't seem to shake the guy, but I mean, that's okay because we always have some great battles. And then of course Omega's also joining the UPA once again this season, and Eric joined last season, and he's going to be some fantastic competition as well. This competition is just insane, so that's enough of the competition. I mean, hopefully more than just myself is going to be uploading, so you can see at least some other content, but either way. Talking about the draft, we did get it's like your standard point-based draft, but the budget got raised up a little bit. We did go to 125 points as opposed to the standard 120. We still had 30 points for Z captains like in UPA D League last season. 4 free agent transactions. Relegation, there's still relegation for here. The bottom 2 spots are going to get relegated to D League. Playoffs are going to work where each first place coach in the division will make it to playoffs, then the next best team in each conference will make it to playoffs, and then there's 2 wild cards where basically the rest of the entire league competes with it. So there's a lot of, it's a pretty balanced way of trying to make playoffs like very clearly the best 8 teams, so I can definitely agree with it. One more thing that I definitely want to talk about before the start of this draft analysis video, though, is that we did have a couple of ban votes that the UPA went on. Normally, I would have been fine if the admin team just decided on themselves that things would be allowed, things aren't allowed, but the admins thought that there was enough outcry for people to vote, so we ended up voting on 3 things: on Tapu Lele, on Sheer Force Landorus I, and on Aegislash. I'm not going to get into the details about how I voted or how any of the other teams voted or whatever, but basically it ended up that Tapu Lele still decided that was going to be banned. Sheer Force Landorus was allowed this season, and also we decided to allow Aegislash, so that was a thing. I unfortunately did not get Aegislash because I did not get the number 1 overall spot. That's basically how that went. But anyways, that's enough talking about the league itself, because now it's time to get into my draft plan specifically. So going into the first round, I was 11th spot out of 16 coaches, which, if you've ever been in a 16-man draft, 11th is basically the most shit-tier spot you could ask for. But anyways, I still went with the usual draft plan, which once again I think is kind of like the most accepted draft plan, is accepted as like the best draft plan, which is basically just take the most overpowered thing that's available in the first round, and then try to build around it. So by the time it came down to me, there were very clearly one of two Pokemon there. Zygarde was the first option. I was really close to taking Zygarde, but my good pal Bronson was right behind me, and I decided to let Bronson take it because he really wanted it, and he told me beforehand he wanted it, and I told him I wouldn't snipe it. So luckily, I don't think that was the best thing on the board, because I definitely did grab the best thing that was available at the time, which is Mew. Now, I mean, I could say a million things about Mew, but I mean, everyone knows that it's the most versatile Pokemon in the game, so I don't really need to explain that. But the thing about Mew is that when you draft it, the only thing you wanted to check off your box, like, of things that you need for your draft team, is your bulky psychic, because that's basically the only way you don't pigeonhole Mew into being a defensive defogging rocker, whatever. I didn't want to pigeonhole Mew, so I basically only checked it off as a psychic type, and hopefully I can try to check everything else off that I need with the rest of the draft. So yeah, I got Mew. Again, most versatile Pokemon in the game. So going into round 2, there was a lot of things that I really wanted to look at for my second round pick. My first choice definitely would have been Infernape, as it gave me a piece to round off the fighting psychic Dark Core that I would like, as well as being able to get a fighting type that can still nuke Aegislash, because that is a thing. But unfortunately, Infernape got sniped, so I went with a different route. It's kind of a not tried and true route, but I guess it's more so because, if you know me, I tend to draft pretty very weak teams, so I wanted to get a steel type that has reliable recovery. Don't worry, this isn't Skarmory, because I know I've used that in the past, like 2 things I've uploaded. But anyways, the Pokemon that I did end up getting in the second round is Mega Scizor. Now, I'm using regular Scizor in PDL right now, which is coming to a close, and regular Scizor has been by far my favorite Pokemon to use on that draft, which, by the way, does include Mega Diancie and Manaphy, and I definitely enjoy using Scizor a lot more. So I'm really hoping I can kind of transfer it with Mega Scizor. I wanted something that I felt confident that I'd be pretty comfortable with in this spot, so looking at how comfortable I was with regular Scizor, I think I can sort of make it work with Mega Scizor. Like, they're similar Pokemon, not quite the same. Obviously, I can't hold an item, but I think I'll do some great things with Mega Scizor, so I'm really excited to use this. Now, going into round 3, once again, since I did take Scizor here because I wanted something that was, like, I knew I would be comfortable with, I guess I kind of forgot to mention, because after these 2 picks, I kind of went on, like, a long streak of grabbing Pokemon that I've used before. Now, mind you, in round 3, this is a Pokemon I haven't used in a very long time, but I have used before. The last time I used this dates back to my first ever Draft League season ever in PDL Season 1, which was still back in ORAS, so I was looking for a piece of I was still looking for a piece of the Fighting Psychic Dark Core that I couldn't get in the second round, but of the 2 I was looking at to complete that core, this one was definitely the higher priority, so I decided to just go ahead and grab Crocodile. So holy crap, it has been a hot minute since I have used Crocodile. But I mean, it's just so unique in what it offers that I definitely could not pass up taking it in this round. Because not every Dark type gets access to Stealth Rock, and not every Ground type gets access to Taunt. Shout out to Gregulator for that one. If he watches this, I don't even know if he'll remember him saying that. I don't know how I remember him saying that, but either way, yeah, like, Crook is just, like, it's such a unique, it offers such a unique set of things combined into one Pokemon that, like, this was something that I had to get. Like, Crocodile's absolutely round 3 viable, and it was just something I had to get if I wanted to get a good Dark type to complement Mew, because getting Stab on Pursuit is actually really big, plus, like, Knockoff is obviously really good. It gives me a good Intimidate user, and, of course, like, the Moxie Scarf set is obviously a really good set when the bring is proper. But anyway, yeah, Crook is just insane for this team. So yeah, moving into round 4, I wanted Keldeo. I wanted Keldeo so goddamn bad. It was definitely the best thing to complete the Fighting Psychic Dark Core that I wanted. My team was looking slightly Water Weak at this point, and not really Ice Weak since I have Mega Scizor, but it was definitely looking Water Weak, and Keldeo would provide me a fantastic Water Resist, but unfortunately Keldeo got sniped, and yeah, that was not fun, because that was going, like, to pick 16, and Drew picked it, and then it was going to come back to me, so it wasn't even like it was the long wait for me, but Keldeo just would have been so perfect here. But unfortunately, Keldeo did not make it back to me, so we went with something else that I've actually used relatively recently. It was actually it was on my UPA D League roster. Not at the start though, but it was something that extremely impressed me when I did pick it up at the deadline. And if you watch that run, you already know where I'm going with this. I ended up picking Azumarill in round 4, and my God, Azumarill impressed the hell out of me in UPA D League last season. This thing is just a monster. It can be an immediate breaker. I can set up with it with either. I mean, I'm personally not a big belly drum fan, but like even just power up punch is perfectly fine. Like, plus it's like so bulky, like you don't even need a boosting item sometimes. Sometimes like the best set is just like bulking it out with like an assault vest or something. Like I was very, very comfortable building with Azumarill last season, so I definitely think that's going to translate to UPA main this season, because wow, it overperformed all of my expectations when I picked it up, and it did give me another water resist, which was something that I was kind of looking for. Even though I'm not really that fighting weak, since I do have Mew, it does give me another fighting resist, which is always good. But anyways, that's enough of that pick. So going into round 5, if you notice, there's a couple things about this draft right now that might be popping out of your head or popping into your head. The first one being I am very slow right now. Like, that's not a secret. The second thing is I don't have as much Volturn as I usually like. So I have come out, like, it's no secret that if you follow me for a while, I really like Volturn teams, or like at least a lot of Volturn options for my teams. And really the only one that right now can reliably do it, I say reliably, like Mew does get U-turn, but I mean you don't always want Mew to have U-turn. I feel like out of any Mew user in the entire format, I would be the one to run Mew with U-turn most often, I think. But right now, really the only one that I can like week to week bring a U-turn set on is definitely my Mega Scizor. So I wanted something to help out a little bit with that, and also help out with my with how slow my team is. So we're getting something a little bit speedy, and once again something I've used before, like about a year ago or so. I don't know. I grabbed Crobat round 5, and I had to say, when I used Crobat in PDL season 4, yes, season 4, it overperformed for sure. Like, it and Infernape together were insane. It would have been insane if I got Infernape on this team too, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But either way, Crobat, I loved using Crobat. I mean, throughout the past year of my draft league, not even year, I guess since I used Crobat last, I've really enjoyed using like just fast bird Pokemon that can taunt. So like I'm using Crobat now. I used Crobat back when I had it in PDL season 4. I used Torn T in UPA D League. I'm using Aerodactyl in PDL right now, and I even used Noivern in Santa Smackdown. And I have thoroughly enjoyed using all of those kinds of Pokemon, and I know I was going to get a good use out of Crobat, and I just really loved enjoying. I just enjoy playing with Crobat. Now it gives me another 4 times. It gives me a 4 times fighting weakness and another 4 times a 4 times fighting resist. My bad. So Crocodile is really supported on that part, as well as another 4 times grass resist. So even then, still supporting both Crocodile and Azumarill there. So yeah, I am really comfortable with using Crobat, so I felt like round 5 was fine to take it in, and it was just something that I was really comfortable with, and something that I couldn't let pass up at the time, since I really like Pokemon that have like that kind of elite speed, that are just like some of the fastest Pokemon in the format. So I really couldn't pass up on not taking Crobat in that spot. So anyways, going into round 6, I was looking for a dragon, because at this point, like, all of the like tier 1A and 1B dragons had gone. Like, it was basically left to mid-tier dragons and low-tier dragons at this point, and I definitely wanted something good. Because like low-tier dragons are really they're not great, to say the least. The only one I would consider taking is Noivern now. But I mean, I literally just drafted Crobat, so I'm not going to draft Noivern and Crobat on the same team. They do too similar of roles. So I looked at what was left in the mid-tier dragons, and once again I had to go with something that I have used before, but it has been it has been a hot minute since I've used this Pokemon, and that is Kyurem. My God, you get so many stats with Kyurem for 12 points, and like I can't really say enough good things about this thing. Like the bulky set is fantastic, the wall breaking set is fantastic. Like I truly cannot say enough good things about Kyurem. Also getting like after using Weavile and then taking a break from Weavile, I have really come to appreciate like how good Ice Stab actually is. So I'm really glad that I have a really good an Ice Beam user this time around, and this time it doesn't have to be like quote unquote the supporting dragon. Since the last time I had Kyurem, I also had Haxorus on my roster, so yeah, I wasn't really looking. I wasn't really looking at Haxorus for this spot because it did cross my mind to take that. But right now, other than a Zoom roll, a lot of my offense has to come from setup, specifically with Mega Scizor and Mew setting up. So I wanted something like a little more immediately threatening. So Kyurem definitely fit the bill more than Haxorus did, in my opinion. Even though Haxorus is faster and his attack stat is a lot higher, like Haxorus gets truly scary once it sets up. But like Kyurem can be like Kyurem can be a very good wall breaker and a really big problem for a lot of teams if they don't properly check it. So moving into the next round, I still need an electric type, and once again, if you know me, I set a pretty high bar for my electric types, and I have to say, after using Rotom-Mow this past season of PDL, I have actually really liked it, and I guess that can't really be that surprised because my first ever season in draft format, I had Rotom Wash, and I really enjoyed using Rotom Wash. So when I saw this Pokemon, I think you already know where this is going. I had to take it, so I ended up taking Rotom Heat in round 7, and I am really looking forward to using Rotom Heat because like a lot of electric types get good fire type coverage, but it's missing out on that. It's missing out on the power that Stab gives it. So having Stab on my fire type coverage is going to be really good for trying to take out all the steel types that basically my Mew and my Mega Scizor would have a problem taking out. But yeah, so it does give me another Volt Switcher, and obviously having the Fire Stab to be able to nuke the steel types that might try, like the specially defensive steel types that might try to switch in, but most importantly the ones that try to switch in on Mega Scizor and Mew. That'll always be good. Plus, an electric type that can reliably, or more so reliably, take on Aegislash. I'm pretty okay with that. So yeah, not too much to say about Rotom Heat. I felt very comfortable with the 2 Rotom forms I've had before, so hopefully this one is no exception. So now going into round, this is 8 at this point. In case you haven't noticed, my hazard situation is not that great. Right now, my only rockers are Mew and Crocodile. And yeah, I really don't want to have to force Mew to bring rocks all that often, and I mean, I guess if I have to bring them on Crocodile, I have to, but I really don't want to force Mew to be a rocker every week, so I had to get another, I had to get another rocker. This is a Pokemon I've had my eye on for a while now, and once again, is something new. But it does give me some semblance of like sort of defensive bulk, as well as being another good Ghost Spam answer. Even though I already have that in Crocodile, I do kind of expect Crocodile to be somewhat pressured this season. So I'm glad to at least take a Ghost Check answer off the board, and I decided to grab Miltank. So I mean, I can say a lot of things about Miltank, and I kind of could about like all of the other picks I've had this season or like in this draft, but I mean, a lot of people know what Miltank can do. It can be like just a fat piece of shit that sits there, milk drinks. But what it does actually do that it also takes away a pigeonhole from you is that it can be an actual cleric. So it can't wish, but it does at least get heal bell to at least try to heal, like, I don't know, like toxics from my bulky stuff or burns from my Azumarill from being hit by Scald or something like that. Not that I would want to switch Azumarill in on Scalds, but you know, just the small things in case they do get a Will-O-Wisp off or something like that. But yeah, so I'm really happy that Miltank's here. It provides me like it provides me a check to a lot of like quote unquote unique threats. For example, like Victini kind of has a hard time, like a traditional Victini sets, I want to say, kind of have a hard time of predicting what kind of defensive Miltank I have, because I could just be thick fat to give myself a fire resistance to its stab attacks, or I could even be Sap Sipper to to be immune to his grass coverage. Like it provides me a lot of like good. It provides me a lot of like good checks to like a unique threat. It's kind of weird to say, and I could probably phrase it wrong, but I know what I'm saying in my head, so I guess that's really that's all that really matters. But anyways, moving into round 9, there's something like I'm still missing a grass type here because once again my team's looking a little bit water weak because right now my only water resists are Azumarill and Kyurem. Granted, Kyurem does get recovery, so that isn't necessarily the worst thing, but water is still a pretty spammable type for my opponent at this point. So I did want to get a grass type, but as well, I have a pretty big speed gap right now. It drops from Crobat all the way down to both Mew and Miltank, especially considering that there's going to be a lot of times where I don't want to run. Like, I probably will never run max speed on Miltank, but there's also going to be a lot of times where I don't want to run max speed on Mew. So I really want to try to fill out that speed gap with the next 2 picks. And with the round 9 pick, I decided to grab something, once again, that I've used before, but this is the last Pokemon that I've previously used. It has also been quite a bit since I've used it. And I'm going to try to do better with it this season, because I grabbed Whimsicott in round 9. The last time I had this was GPC Season 8, and while at the time, I mean, I still know how good Whimsicott can be, but in that season of GPC, I did not prove that Whimsicott was that good because it got 0 kills that entire season. But either way, I know how good Whimsicott can be because it can just be an annoyance for a team. I've come across some cancer sets that I will probably have to use this season because, like, as much as I don't want to use cancer sets, like Whimsicott is just that kind of Pokemon that wants to do it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to using Whimsicott once again. I think it's going to be a pretty pivotal player in this season. So yeah, moving into round 10, I'm starting to run low on points, obviously. And even though I had mentioned it back all the way in round 4 that I wanted Keldeo to kind of fill out the fighting type that I was looking for in my core, I still haven't gotten a fighting type yet. So I'm definitely looking at that this round. And the thing is, like, the high to mid tier fighting types are just so much better than the low tiers. Like, the low tiers are okay, but they kind of lack breaking power. Like, at one point I was looking at Primeape, because I do actually think it's a pretty, like, okay low tier fighting type, but the problem is it didn't really fit the speed tier I was looking for, and it just lacked, like, immediate power. So I wanted to grab something that could be slightly more threatening, but maybe not so bulky, but it does fit a much better speed tier in this team. So I decided to pick up Mienshao in round 10. And yeah, I mean, like, again, everyone knows what Mienshao does. It can, like, it like, Reckless High Jump Kick can just nuke things, but another thing it does provide me is a 105 U-turner, as well as a pretty decent Scarfer that is over base 100, because that was kind of looking lacking at the time, not going to lie. So I'm really glad I picked up Mienshao. I think for a fighting type that I need to complete the core, it's going to serve its purpose very, very well. So last round, I only have 2 points left. I mean, whatever mod I pick up, it's probably not going to be like a game-breaking Pokemon, like, at all. I think it's just going to show up to like a couple matches and maybe not even. Like, I was basically looking at the 2-point Pokemon left and deciding what's the thing that I would most likely bring to a match. So I decided to pick up Whirlipede, and for a lot of you might be thinking, what the hell is this thing doing here? Well, I mean, for people more experienced in draft format, everyone knows that, like, if you draft Whirlipede, you're drafting it for one thing, and that's for Hazard Stack, because this thing does learn both Spikes and Toxic Spikes. As well, it does get speed boost, so there are a few shenanigans that I can do with the speed boost thing. However, it does not get Baton Pass, which I unfortunately found that out after drafting it. But, I mean, it's still fine. I mean, to be fair, if it did get Baton Pass, it probably wouldn't be 2 points. It would probably be at least 3. But either way, I don't expect this thing to do too much. I think if I just need an extra layer of Spikes or Toxic Spikes, it might show up, but who knows? I don't expect Whirlipede to come to too many games, but I think for what was left at 2 points, it was definitely the Pokemon I was most likely going to bring. So yeah, that actually wraps up my roster, but before we can wrap up this video, we do have to go over my Z users. So, I not really dicked myself over, but, like, I mean, there was really only 2 Z users that I wanted to have on this team. One of them, I guess, is kind of obvious and sort of, like, I don't know, one I've used before, one I haven't, so I decided to give those a shot. So this season I'm running with Z Mew and Z Whimsicott. So Z Mew is going to help out with me basically trying to not pigeonhole Mew into being a defensive slot. Even though this team is very much more bulky offense than it is balance, I think having Mew be a Z user is going to be good, and hopefully trying to like exploit Mew's insane move pool. And then Z Whimsicott, I mean, I've used it before. Obviously Z Memento's a thing, especially when I have a pretty setup heavy offense in the form of like Mew, Mega Scizor, and to an extent Azumarill. And then as well, its offensive Z moves, like, it actually nets some pretty crucial KOs, so I'm pretty happy with Z Whimsicott. So yeah, that is the entire team. Let me know what you guys think of the Toronto Razor Leafs roster in the comment section down below. And yeah, I guess you saw the divisions. I guarantee play everyone in my division. It's not guaranteed that I play everyone else in my conference, but I also have a few out-of-conference games, so I guess you guys can let me know who you guys are most excited for me to play against. But for now, for Week 1, you can look forward to Week 1, we will be going up against Jose, aka Shiny Weavile, coach of the Seattle Marinis. Jose, he took kind of a break because he went into the U.S. Marine Corps. He took a break from Mons from doing that, sorry. So he's sort of new. Like, he came in as a replacement coach last season, so he's starting to get the rust off from coming off of his break. So I'm sure Week 1 is going to be a very, very good match between the two of us. So keep your guys' eyes out on the first team builder for Week 1 of Season 10 of the UPA. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.